I'm Dana Bash. President Biden is set to deliver his first address to a joint session of Congress this week and lay out his priorities to a nation still fighting a pandemic and exhausted by a string of mass shootings while coming to a reckoning on racial justice. Biden's big sell to rebuild and reinvent the nation's infrastructure. Joining me now for an exclusive interview is the man who holds the key in the Senate to whether any of that can get done, Democratic Senator Joe Mancin of West Virginia. Thank you so much for coming in.
Nice to see you with you
in person.
Yeah, it's great to be in the studio again.
Yeah. So you said this week the best chance for bipartisan infrastructure is to focus on what you call conventional infrastructure, roads, bridges, water, broadband. Key Republicans introduced a proposal, $600 billion, targeted to the issues you're talking about. Do you support it?
That's a good start. It really is. And I'm glad they did it because it came out of BPW committee, which is Tom Carper's the chairman, and my colleague Shelley Capito is basically the ranking member. And they've worked it together, so we know it has bipartisan support. We just have to look to see if we've gotten everything in there that we need, and we'll be working on that together. So I'm very, very pleased with that. And this is the way we start negotiations. They've put their best foot forward, but it's a starting point. It's not the finishing line.
So you say that, and clearly there is a lot of work to do, but I want to ask kind of more of a big picture, because there seems to be a bit of a disconnect on how to define infrastructure here. President Biden has broader ambitions. He, for example, has a plan inside his big proposal that includes $400 billion for in-home care for elderly Americans and those with disabilities, also billions more for child care facilities. Do you support that?
Well, here's the thing. All the things that he has stated that's needed is needed. To what extent we have to go in that and go through the process of having our hearings and looking at a markup in a committee and then having professionals come in, going to the floor with an amendment process. By that time, you're going to have all different sides coming to agree, hopefully to agree on something. Just take what we just did last week, which was the hate crimes bill. Who would have thought we'd have gotten 94-1? Think about that. People wouldn't have expected Democrats and Republicans to be in unison on that, and we did, but it had a process on the floor.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's hard to find bipartisanship, but one would think that condemning hate crimes against Asian Americans.
You would think
and
all
others,
these things make sense,
right?
Okay,
but these are real policy.
Well, these policies here. That's
so do you think that those?
I think they should be separated.
You do.
I do think they should be separated because when you start putting so much into one bill, which we call an omnibus bill, makes it very, very difficult for the public to understand. When you talk about infrastructure, they understand infrastructure. Internet is a new infrastructure that we didn't have before, and it should be. But you're talking about transit, airports, rail systems, the lines as far as our electricity, which is the grid system. All of these things need upgraded. We have to make sure with the new energy coming on that we're able to get it to market. So all of this has to be incorporated. That's infrastructure, what we would call traditional infrastructure. The human infrastructure is something that we're very much concerned about. And when you think about all that we have done in the last year, and plus the COVID bill this year, the American Rescue Plan, an awful lot has been done there too. So we have to see what the effects of all that is.
So just to be clear, it sounds like you're supporting a smaller package with what you deem traditional infrastructure.
More targeted, Donna.
And would you tackle everything else with 51 votes through the reconciliation process?
No. If people would just think about, if we go through the process that we're supposed to, we never used to use filibuster. And reconciliation is only used for budget. And that's why you have the guardrails put on with the Byrd rule. So we have to get back to getting it into the committees, let the committee chair and the members of those committees work it in jurisdictions, whichever it comes to. I'm chairman of energy projects would come to me, then we would work it, give it back to the majority leader. They put it on the floor with an open amendment process that's germane. Once you go through all of that, you know, Bob Byrd, when he was majority leader, used to keep us here Friday night, Saturday until we got it.
That was a long time ago.
Well, but still, yeah, things
different
work.
Culture.
Things work.
President Biden is going to give his first speech to Congress this week. He's going to call for higher taxes on the wealthiest Americans in order to combat poverty and expand child care. 1 in 5 children in your home state of West Virginia live in poverty. So do you think that raising taxes to help those who need it most
I think we can find a balance, but when you have reports from professionals that say that $400 billion to $1 trillion not even collected in the loopholes we've eviscerated the IRS. They don't have the guts or basically the firepower they had before. All of these things should be explored before we start just raising taxes exponentially.
So you don't support raising taxes at all right now?
Oh yeah, I always support. Basically, I'm supporting anything that makes common sense and is reasonable. But if you're just saying raising taxes for the sake of raising taxes and not collecting what taxes have already been owed, and we're not.
What if you did it together?
Well, you look at everything together and make sure, and you look at basically the scope of the program of how much they want, and see if that's necessary or needed.
I guess my question is, if there's somebody out there wondering if their taxes are if they're wealthy, part of the half of the top 1%, wondering, are my taxes going to be raised? And looking to you, Joe Manchin, to answer that question, what's the answer?
Oh, I think that basically you will be paying your fair share if your taxes are raised, but basically, have you been paying your taxes at all? The way you're able to report being in the super wealthy, or have you been able to use different pass-throughs and different bypasses or loopholes that have been in the system? We're going to close all those. We have to.
Senator, I talk to Democrats who tell me the reason President Biden's ambitious agenda is so big and so bold is because they understand history. And history shows that the president's party, if they have majorities in Congress, as he does, oftentimes lose that in the midterm elections. And that's why they have a small window to get things done, they believe is possible. So they believe that you're one of the main roadblocks on getting those goals accomplished. How do you respond to that?
I'm not a roadblock at all. The best politics is good government. I can't believe that people believe that if you just do it my way, and that'll give us the momentum to get through the next election. But when you do something that everyone tags on to, and I've seen good things happen, that people voted against it, took credit for it when they went back home. We won't give this system a chance to work. I am not going to be part of blowing up this Senate of ours, or basically this democracy of ours, or the republic that we have. If we have a 51 vote threshold in the Senate, the same as the House wasn't designed to be partisan. The House was designed to be hot as a firecracker. We were designed to cool it off. And that's the founding fathers. It was a brilliant, brilliant strategy they looked at. So why can't we try to make this work? If you have the violent swings every time you have a party change, then we will have no consistency whatsoever.
I want to ask you about the issue of guns. You're talking a lot about bipartisanship. You have had a bipartisan plan to expand background checks for some years. We have seen, I talked to the vice president earlier in the week. I said it was 50 mass shootings in 6 weeks. Now it's up to 60.
It's awful.
In 6 weeks. More than 90% of Americans support universal background checks. So where is the urgency on this? Shouldn't this be a really important key priority for you as somebody who wants to work across the aisle?
But every time a bill comes out, Dan, every time a bill comes out, it's far in scope. We've basically took a bill way back in 2013, myself and Pat Toomey, and we worked on it and had good bipartisan support. Then we lost it right in the last week. NRA was against it. But basically, we call it common gun sense. And now we have a group working together. You've got Chris Murphy doing a great job. Chris is looking for that balance.
And is that doable? Is that balance doable right now? I sure think it is doable,
that we can find common guns. You have to understand, law-abiding gun owners aren't going to loan their guns or sell their guns to strangers. But we have so many loopholes in the system. Can't we just fix what's broken?
That's what a lot of people are asking.
Well, that we do, but then we get a bill that has everything but that. It has that and a lot more. And they just can't take the common sense approach to fixing the things that are broken and then move from there.
Before I let you go,
sure.
You crossed party lines this week. You endorsed Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski. I know she's your friend, but you disagree on a whole lot of things, from the GOP tax cut
sure.
bill to the individual mandate, which you voted to repeal, Amy Coney Barrett. Why'd you endorse her?
Well, basically, when you have someone such as Lisa Murkowski that's just this solid, I'm not saying solid, looks at the issue, not afraid to make and step out and make a decision. She's done that and done it so well over many, many years. Her and I have been friends, and we've had great conversations. And there's no gotcha moment. There's no time when she's ever basically gone just along party lines for the sake of party lines. She gives a good, strenuous thought process. And I think people like Lisa Murkowski should be in the Senate. And I'm going to support the people that I do. I don't look at the party line saying that's a barrier for me. Party line, the country is what my concern is, and having the best people to make decisions. There's so much we can do together. You can't throw out. You just can't throw out the purpose of us being in the Senate. There's 2 senators for every state. Little Delaware, little Rhode Island, big California, big Texas, big New York.
Yep.
Why? They don't want the big person beating up on the little person. In the Senate, the minority always has input, and it has to stay that way.
Senator